They portray themselves as the ultimate wholesome, God-fearing family from the heart of the Bible Belt. Every Sunday, the cameras catch them in their Sunday best. We see the heads bowed in prayer over family dinners. We hear the constant references to faith, to values, to raising children in the light of the Lord. To the casual viewer, the Johnstons are a beacon of traditional morality in a reality television landscape that is usually filled with scandal and debauchery. They seem like the perfect antidote to the toxicity of modern media. But let's be real for a second. If you have been watching closely, if you have been paying attention to the cracks in the facade, you know that there is a massive disconnect between the scripture they quote and the way they actually live their lives. It is the oldest trick in the reality TV book. We are about to expose how the Johnstons are using religion not as a guiding light, but as a shield. A shield to hide their greed, their judgment, and a shocking level of hypocrisy that would make a saint blush. What happens when the cameras stop rolling? Or worse, what happens when the cameras represent the very idol they are worshiping? We are peeling back the layers of this pious performance to reveal a family driven by earthly desires, masking their ambition with a thin veneer of holiness. Before we dive deep into the 7 deadly sins of the Johnston family and reveal the shocking theories about their standing in their own church community, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We are the only ones brave enough to say what everyone else is just thinking. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update on the 7 little couple universe, because the truth is about to come out, and you do not want to be the last one to know. Let's start by examining the foundation of their brand. From the very first season, Trent and Amber Johnston have worked tirelessly to curate a specific image. They are the hard-working, conservative parents from Georgia. They are the disciplinarians. They are the ones who value hard work, respect, and biblical principles. We have seen countless scenes of them discussing the importance of church, the importance of modesty, and the importance of family unity under God. It is a very attractive narrative. It sells. It appeals to a massive demographic of viewers who feel alienated by the rest of Hollywood. TLC knows this. The Johnstons know this. They know that by wrapping their show in the flag of faith, they gain a layer of protection. It makes them harder to criticize. If you criticize the Johnstons, their defenders will say you are criticizing their values or their religion. It is a brilliant marketing strategy. But when you strip away the marketing, when you look at the raw footage of how they treat their children and how they handle their newfound fame, the picture gets incredibly dark, incredibly fast. We have to talk about greed. It is one of the most prominent themes in the Bible, the warning against the love of money. Yet, as the seasons have progressed, we have watched the Johnstons transform from a humble family trying to make ends meet into a corporate machine. In the early days, the struggle was relatable. The fixer-upper house, the budget concerns, the focus on simple joys. But look at them now. The relentless pursuit of more, the bigger houses, the massive renovations that seem to happen not out of necessity, but out of a need for content and status. We see the sponsored posts on social media, the shilling of products that have nothing to do with their core values. There is a distinct shift in their eyes. It's no longer about sharing their story to educate the world about dwarfism. It's about securing the bag. There is nothing inherently wrong with making money. But there is something deeply hypocritical about preaching humility and modesty while simultaneously exploiting every aspect of your children's lives for a paycheck. Think about the storylines that have felt forced. Think about the times the children were pushed into uncomfortable situations, dating scenarios, or conflicts, all for the sake of drama that drives ratings, which in turn drives ad revenue. Is that stewardship, or is that exploitation? When the check from TLC clears, does it matter that Jonah's privacy was invaded or that Anna was humiliated on national television? It seems that for Trent and Amber, the pursuit of wealth has slowly eclipsed the spiritual values they claim to hold dear. They are building a kingdom on earth, complete with brand deals and reality TV fame, while pretending their eyes are fixed on heaven. Then we move to wrath. If patience is a virtue, Trent and Amber are arguably the most sinful people on the network. For a couple that preaches grace and understanding, their fuse is shockingly short. We have all seen the supercuts. We have seen the moments where the mask slips. When a renovation project doesn't go exactly according to Trent's rigid plan, the atmosphere in that house becomes toxic. The yelling, the belittling, the sheer aggression that radiates from the screen is palpable. This isn't just parental frustration, it is a pattern of wrath. Look at the way they handle driving lessons. Look at the way they handle academic struggles. Instead of a nurturing, Christ-like patience, we see an authoritarian wrath that demands perfection. When the children fail to meet these arbitrary standards, the reaction isn't guidance. It is anger. It is judgment. There are moments where Trent's face turns red, veins popping, screaming at his children over minor infractions. Is this the behavior of a man walking in the Spirit? The Bible speaks of fathers not provoking their children to anger, yet Trent seems to thrive on confrontation. He rules his household with an iron fist, and any dissent is met with a verbal lashing. This wrath creates a culture of fear in the home, where the children are walking on eggshells, terrified of triggering the next explosion. That is not a Christian home. That is a dictatorship disguised as discipline. And this leads us directly to the sin of pride. This might be Johnston's deadliest sin of all. Pride is often called the root of all evil, the belief that you are superior, that you are always right, and that you are above reproach. Trent Johnston embodies this to a disturbing degree. Have you ever heard him apologize? Have you ever seen a genuine moment where he sits down, looks his children in the eye, and admits that he was wrong? It is almost non-existent. His way is the only way. Whether it is how to load a dishwasher, how to build a deck, or how to navigate a relationship, Trent believes he possesses the ultimate truth. This pride manifests in a refusal to listen. When the adult children try to express their feelings or their different perspectives, they are shut down. They are told they are disrespectful or ungrateful. That is the defense mechanism of a prideful spirit. Trent and Amber have convinced themselves that because they are the parents and because they are the religious heads of the household, they are infallible. This spiritual pride is dangerous. It allows them to justify terrible behavior because they believe they are divinely appointed authorities who cannot be questioned. They hide behind the commandment to honor thy father and thy mother, using it as a weapon to silence their children, while conveniently forgetting the scriptures that call for parents to serve and listen. It is this pride that has caused the visible fractures in the family dynamic. We see the distance growing in Jonah. We see the resentment building in Anna. These are the fruits of a parenting style rooted in ego rather than humility. A truly humble Christian leader serves their family, admits their faults, and asks for forgiveness. The Johnstons demand submission. They parade their perfect family on television, taking pride in their image, but refusing to do the hard, humble work of repairing the relationships they have damaged behind closed doors. They are more concerned with looking like a good Christian family than actually being one. Let's talk about judgment. This is where the hypocrisy becomes almost unbearable to watch. The phrase, "judge not, lest ye be judged," seems to have been edited out of the Johnston Family Bible. They are incredibly critical of anyone and anything that does not fit their narrow worldview. This judgment is most heartbreakingly directed at their own daughter, Anna. The scrutiny she faces is unlike anything the other siblings endure. No matter what she does, it is never enough. Her past mistakes are constantly brought up, held over her head like a dark cloud, used to justify a lack of trust and harsh restrictions. That is not the gospel of forgiveness. That is the gospel of holding a grudge. They preach acceptance. They talk about how hard it is to be a little people in a world designed for average-sized people. They ask for the world to treat them with dignity and lack of prejudice. Yet, within their own walls, they practice a severe form of prejudice against their own kin who don't toe the line perfectly. They judge Anna's choices, her personality, her very nature. They judge Jonah's struggles with anxiety and independence, not with compassion, but with disappointment. They look down on lifestyles that differ from their suburban, conservative ideal. There is a smugness to their on-screen interviews, a sense that they have figured life out and everyone else is just flailing. This judgmental attitude extends beyond the family. Watch their body language when they encounter people outside their bubble. There is often a stiffness, a side eye, a subtle rejection of anything other. They have created an insular world where they are the kings and queens, and everyone else is subject to their critique. They use their religion not as a way to love their neighbors, but as a yardstick to measure how much better they are than everyone else. It is pharisaical behavior in the modern age, broadcast in high definition for millions to see. But the rot goes deeper than just their personality flaws. We have to look at the structure of their life. They have turned their existence into a commodity. In doing so, they have embraced the very worldly values they claim to reject. They chase fame. They chase relevance. They modify their behavior for the edit. How can you be authentic in your walk with God when every major life event is produced, scheduled, and reshot for maximum dramatic effect? Is the prayer real if you have to do a second take because the lighting wasn't right? Is the family meeting genuine if it was prompted by a producer to stir up conflict? The lines have blurred so much that it is impossible to tell where the believer ends and the reality star begins. There is a distinct lack of spiritual fruit in their recent interactions. The Bible talks about the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. When you watch the recent seasons of 7 Little Johnstons, how many of those do you actually see? Do you see peace, or do you see constant chaotic bickering? Do you see gentleness, or do you see harsh sarcasm and abrasive teasing disguised as family fun? Do you see self-control, or do you see emotional outbursts and reactive parenting? The absence of these virtues is deafening. It suggests that the Christianity we see is a costume, something they put on when it's convenient or when they want to claim moral high ground, but something they take off when it gets in the way of their ego or their paycheck. The audience is starting to wake up. The comment sections are turning. People who used to look up to Trent and Amber as role models are now seeing them as cautionary tales. Viewers are realizing that you can quote the Bible all day long, but if your actions scream greed, wrath, and pride, the words are empty. The Johnstons are finding out that you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve both God and the ratings. And right now, it looks like they have made their choice. They have chosen the spotlight. They have chosen control. They have chosen the narrative of perfection over the reality of grace. But here is where things get truly interesting. Here is where the story takes a turn that TLC inevitably tries to keep hidden. Because while the Johnstons can control the edit on their show, they cannot control the whispers in their local community. They cannot control the people who sit in the pews next to them, the people who see the difference between the Sunday morning smiles and the Monday morning reality. We are beginning to hear rumblings, theories, and reports that suggest the Johnston family's standing in their local religious community is not as pristine as they would have you believe. There is a growing sentiment, a theory circulating among observers and locals, that the Johnstons are becoming pariahs in the very circles they claim to represent. Imagine the tension. You are sitting in a humble church service, listening to a sermon about modesty and charity, and in walks a family that has turned their lives into a global spectacle for cash. A family that airs their dirty laundry, their arguments, and their children's humiliations for entertainment. It doesn't sit well. There are whispers that the wholesome act is seen by their neighbors as a total sham. We are hearing speculation that longtime acquaintances are distancing themselves. Why? Because they see the mask. They see the way Trent talks to people when the cameras are off. They see the arrogance that comes with being a TV star in a small town. There is a belief that humility is gone, replaced by a sense of entitlement. The theory goes that the Johnstons have become so consumed by their own brand that they have alienated the very community that used to support them. They are physically present in the church, but spiritually and socially, they are on an island of their own making. Think about the disconnect. You cannot act like a tyrant on national television, belittling your kids and screaming over home renovations, and then expect to be viewed as a spiritual leader in your community on Sunday. People aren't blind. They have televisions. They see the wrath. They see pride. And for a community that values genuine faith, the Johnstons' performative Christianity is likely offensive. It's a mockery. It treats the church as a backdrop for a scene rather than a place of worship. These reports suggest that there is a quiet exodus of people from the Johnstons' inner circle. People who don't want to be associated with the drama. People who don't want to sign release forms just to have a potluck dinner. The fame has built a wall around the family. Inside that wall, Trent and Amber tell themselves they are being persecuted for their success, or that people are just jealous. That is the classic defense of the prideful. But the reality, according to these growing theories, is that people are simply repulsed by hypocrisy. The most damning speculation involves the idea that the family treats their production crew and service workers with a lack of Christian charity. While it fits the pattern of behavior we see on screen. If Trent snaps at his own daughter for driving too slow, how does he treat a waiter? How does he treat a camera operator who steps in the wrong place? The theory is that the servant heart they preach is completely absent when they are dealing with people they consider below them or people they are paying. If true, This is the ultimate betrayal of their faith. It turns their religion into a club for the elite, rather than a hospital for the broken. The Johnstons are walking a very dangerous line. They are selling a product, their family values, that is increasingly defective, and the consumers, the viewers, and perhaps even their own neighbors, are demanding a refund. They are tired of the lectures. They are tired of the holier-than-thou attitude from a couple that seems more interested in building a real estate empire than building character. The cracks are showing, and the light shining through isn't divine. It's the harsh glare of studio lights exposing a fraud. We are going to dig even deeper into the specific incidents that prove these theories. We are going to connect the dots between their on-screen scandals and the biblical principles they are violating. We are going to ask the hard questions about the future of the show and whether this house of cards is about to collapse under the weight of its own hypocrisy. You think you know the Johnstons? You have only seen what they want you to see. The truth is much darker, and it is all coming to light. We promised you the dark truth, and we are going to deliver. If you thought the on-screen behavior was bad, the whispers coming from behind the scenes paint a picture of a family that has completely lost its way. We have been digging, scouring forums, and listening to the quiet murmurs of the internet underground, and we have uncovered a narrative that changes everything. This brings us to the most explosive element of the Johnston family saga. It is the theory that threatens to dismantle their entire wholesome brand. We are talking about the disgraced church member theory. For years, fans have assumed that the Johnstons are pillars of their local church. But new information, yet incredibly detailed, suggests the exact opposite. We have uncovered what appears to be testimony from an anonymous source, someone claiming to be a former member of the very congregation the Johnstons attend. This individual, whose identity is protected for obvious reasons, paints a chilling portrait of what Sunday mornings are really like with the reality TV stars. This source alleges that the family you see on TLC is careful to dissolve the moment they step into the sanctuary. According to this insider theory, the Johnstons are not the beloved community leaders they pretend to be. The source claims, and I quote, "On Sunday, they are all smiles and scripture. They shake hands, they nod at the sermon, they play the part perfectly. But the rest of the week? It is all about the money and the show." The local community sees right through it. Many of us have left or changed service times just to avoid the circus. They treat the production crew horribly, snapping at them in the parking lot, then walking inside to pray. It is a performance, and it is exhausting to watch. Let that sink in. This theory suggests that their own neighbors, the people who share their faith, are repulsed by their behavior. If this is true, it validates everything we have suspected. It implies that their religion is nothing more than a costume, a prop used to sell advertisements. The accusation that they treat their crew poorly is particularly damning. The Bible teaches humility and servitude. It teaches that the last shall be first. But if Trent and Amber are treating the people who hold the cameras and adjust the microphones like second-class citizens, scolding them with the same wrath they unleash on their children, then they are violating the core tenets of the faith they claim to hold dear. This insider report aligns perfectly with the Pharisee accusation. In the scriptures, the Pharisees were the religious leaders who loved the best seats in the synagogue, who loved to be seen praying in public, but whose hearts were full of greed and judgment. They were called whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but full of dead men's bones on the inside. Is that what we are watching every Tuesday night? A digital whitewashed tomb? The theory goes on to suggest that the family has become isolated. They are physically present in the church, but socially, they are pariahs. The holier-than-thou attitude, combined with the blatant commercialization of their family life, has allegedly created a rift that cannot be healed. They are alone on an island of their own ego, surrounded by cameras but devoid of genuine community fellowship. This brings us back to the concept of judgment, specifically how they weaponize it against those who don't fit their mold. The anonymous source hints that this judgment is not reserved for strangers. It is a poison that infects their interactions with everyone. It fuels the theory that the Johnstons believe they are chosen, not just by God, but by the network, to be the ultimate example of how life should be lived. And anyone who deviates from the Johnston way, whether it is a church member who disagrees with them, a producer who wants a different shot, or their own daughter Anna, is branded as an enemy. Let's look deeper at the sin of envy and how it paradoxically manifests in their lives. Usually we think of envy as wanting what others have. But for the Johnstons, it seems to be a desperate need to be envied by others. They want to be the best little people's family on television. We have seen the subtle shade thrown at other reality families. We have seen the constant need to prove that they are harder working, stricter, and more successful than anyone else. This isn't a spirit of contentment. It is a spirit of competition. And where does competition have a place in the gospel? They are treating life like a sport where they have to win the gold medal for best Christian family. But in their race to the podium, they are trampling on the very virtues that define the faith. This competitive drive fuels their materialism, leading us to the sin of gluttony. We are not talking about food. We are talking about the gluttonous consumption of resources, the remodeling, the cars, the endless projects. It is never enough. There is a void in the Johnston household that they are trying to fill with stuff. They mask it as home improvement or investing in the future, but let's call it what it is: unchecked consumerism. They are hoarding treasures on earth. Every new deck, every bathroom remodel, every expensive outing is broadcast as a triumph. But it begs the question, is there security in their faith, or is it in their bank account? The Bible warns that the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Watching the show, you get the distinct feeling that the pursuit of wealth has become the primary driver of their decisions, with their faith merely serving as the aesthetic packaging. And what is the cost of this fake Christianity? The cost is the emotional and spiritual well-being of their children. This is where the tragedy lies. We are witnessing a form of religious trauma playing out in real time. Look at Anna. The way she is treated is often framed by Trent and Amber as discipline or tough love. But through the lens of this expose, it looks like something far more sinister: scapegoating. In many dysfunctionally religious families, there is always one child who is designated as the sinner, the rebel, the one who carries the burden of the family's imperfections. Anna has been cast in this role. They use their rigid standards to constantly find fault with her. If she isn't perfectly submissive, she is rebellious. If she seeks independence, she is ungrateful. They use religious guilt to manipulate her, making her feel that her normal young adult mistakes are moral failings of the highest order. This isn't discipleship, it's control. And the devastating result is that they may be pushing her away from the faith entirely. By associating God with their own angry, judgmental parenting, they are poisoning the well. If Anna walks away from the church, it won't be because she lacks faith. It will be because the version of Christianity she was shown at home was devoid of grace. Then there is Jonah. His struggles with anxiety and failure to launch are often met with Trent's pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. This is a misinterpretation of biblical masculinity. Instead of offering a shoulder to lean on, Trent offers lectures. He offers pride. He refuses to understand that mental health issues are not character flaws. The anonymous insider theories suggest that this dynamic is even worse off camera, that the pressure to maintain the perfect family image adds an unbearable weight to Jonah's shoulders. He isn't just failing a class or a job, he is failing the brand. He is failing the show. The Johnstons have monetized their children's successes, which means their failures are bad for business. That is a horrific burden for a child to carry. We also have to question the charity we see on the show. Remember the exchange student? Remember the various good deeds? In the age of reality TV, we have to ask, was it done for the glory of God or for the glory of the ratings? The Bible says when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Do not announce it with trumpets. But the Johnstons announce it with cameras, boom mics, and a primetime slot on TLC. When charity is performed for an audience, it ceases to be charity and becomes a transaction. They are buying goodwill from the viewers. They are purchasing a reputation. It is the ultimate cynical move, using the command to love others as a plot point to secure a season renewal. The grand conclusion of this entire saga is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. The Johnstons' greatest performance isn't for TLC, it's for God. Or rather, it is a performance of godliness that lacks the power thereof. They have wrapped their television brand in the flag of faith, using religion as a marketing tool to appear relatable and wholesome. They know that the Christian family demographic is loyal. They know that if they say grace at the table, they can get away with yelling at their kids in the living room. They are exploiting the faith of their audience. When you peel back the layers, as we have done today, You find a family driven not by scripture, but by the same earthly desires they pretend to condemn. You find greed in their bank accounts. You find wrath in their parenting. You find pride in their refusal to apologize. You find judgment in their eyes. And according to the shocking theories from their own community, you find a reputation that is in tatters among those who know them best. They are building a house on the sand. They are building an empire on the foundation of reality TV fame, assuming that their religious identity will keep it standing. But the tide is coming in. The viewers are getting smarter. The comments are getting harsher. The anonymous sources are starting to speak up. The Johnstons are finding out that you cannot fake fruit. You can tape a plastic apple to a tree, and it might look good from a distance, but up close, it has no life. It has no taste. It provides no nourishment. The 7 Little Johnstons have become the plastic fruit of reality TV Christianity. It looks perfect, it's shiny, it's colorful, but it is hollow. And the ultimate sin isn't that they are imperfect people. We are all imperfect. The ultimate sin is hypocrisy. It is the pretense. It is the selling of a lie. They are profiting from a standard they do not uphold. They are the gatekeepers of a morality they do not practice. As we watch the future seasons, if there are any, we need to watch with our eyes wide open. Do not be fooled by the prayer circles. Do not be distracted by the inspirational quotes on Instagram. Watch the fruit. Watch the anger. Watch the ego. Watch the way they treat the people who can do nothing for them. That is where the truth lies. The Johnstons' religion is a scam, not because Christianity is fake, but because their version of it is a product manufactured for your consumption. And the expiration date on that product is fast approaching. If you believe that the truth matters, if you are tired of reality families hiding behind a fake halo, then you need to share this video. We are the only ones peeling back the curtain. The mainstream media won't touch this. TLC certainly won't touch this. It is up to us, the community, to expose the hypocrisy. Hit the like button if you see through the act. Comment below with your own theories. Have you noticed the cracks in the armor? Do you believe the anonymous source? Let's get the conversation started in the comments section, because the Johnstons might control the edit, but they do not control the truth. Subscribe for more deep dives, more exposés, and more unvarnished truth about the 7 Little Couple universe. We are just getting started. The house of cards is shaking, and we will be here when it falls.